Just do it. Do it like it's never been done before. Just do it. Do it like the moment is finally yours. Just do it. Do it like it's all you've been waiting for. Do what you do. Do what you do. Just do it for you.
Hey everybody, welcome to this episode of Car Wash Magazine Live. As always, I'm your host, Matt DeWolf, Editor-in-Chief of Car Wash Magazine. Hey, that issue is coming out, by the way. You should be getting that in your mailbox. If you're not a member of ICA, in which case you can take care of that real quickly at carwash.org/join and make sure that you are supporting what we're doing here at the International Car Wash Association. Now, first things first, I want to say that we are thinking this week a lot about what's going on with folks down in Louisiana, New Orleans, especially area where Hurricane Ida has struck there. A lot of people without power. Hopefully that's starting to kind of get figured out here as we get into the weekend. But I know that it's going to be tough down there for a while, and so if you have people down there, make sure you're taking care of them, make sure you're thinking about them, make sure you're reaching out to see how you might be able to help out in that time of need and really drive home the fact that this whole thing is about much more than washing cars. So we're thinking of them and everybody down there this week. Now, for this show, we do have one of the fast-growing companies in the car wash industry joining us today. We're going to be talking to Stu Crum from True Blue Car Wash. True Blue Car Wash has 3 brands underneath of it, and so those might be more familiar to you. We'll get into that here in just a little bit. Stu comes to this industry with a background from a large location retail. So he is a former CEO of Bridgestone, where he ran more than 2,000 locations of that operation. And then, again, there's a number here, more than 2,000 locations of that organization. So for True Blue, which is now at 61 locations, having grown 34 or so in the last 18 months, this is nothing new for him. So we're going to get into what's important about their path and how they're growing there and what they're doing and just Stu's story. So we'll get into that in just a minute. First, I want to say a little bit about what's going on this week in car wash. We're going to fly through this for you, but we do have some fun news. First things first, we've got Green Clean Express Auto Wash. They were named a best of in Virginia in multiple cities, so congratulations to them as they put their best foot forward doing that. We've got a couple of groups who are on a fun list, the Inc.'s 5,000 fastest growth list. We've got Express Wash Concepts, and then another one that's Wave Auto Spa. Kudos to you all for that progress and that growth. Fitting that we're talking about growth today, and here we have a couple of really fast-growing companies. So, speaking of growth, we've also got Tommy's. Everybody knows Tommy's. Tommy's has 2 new locations in Michigan, and then another brand that we all know, Driven Brands, has grown by at least 2 as they acquired Gugu Car Wash in Albany. So more growth, more fun stuff, always exciting things happening in this industry right now. Now, with all of this growth, okay, consumer habits are going to be changing. And so we had a chance to talk to Chip Bell, who is a leading expert on customer service and loyalty, because that's going to become really important for everybody as competition starts to increase in this industry. And so we talked to Chip in a previous episode of this program. We've got him queued up for the podcast for you this week. So make sure you check that out, podcast content or carwashthepodcast.com. And guess what? Chip is going to be joining us at the Car Wash Show in November. That's November 15th through 17th in Las Vegas. And so you can catch a full presentation from him if you sign up and join us at that out. One other thing I want to make sure that we all remember is some scholarship stuff, right? So we've been talking about scholarships. We've been showcasing some of the folks who've won scholarships. Here's another one for you. Let's get his picture up there. This is Lucas Huang from Waterway Car Wash. He is one of our 6 scholarship winners. For Lucas, this is from his application. He's going to go off to Kelley School of Business at Indiana University. This is his quote: "Being a car wash employee was my first real job and could possibly be the most unique job I'll ever have. When I'm off studying at college, I will never forget the life lessons that the car wash has taught me." congratulations to Lucas. We're really looking forward to what he does at Indiana, and we'll expect him to come back to the car wash here pretty soon. So that's what we've got. So, like we say, when you get the chemistry in your blood, you really can't get it out, and you're here to stay. So what else we got for you guys this week? Look, I've got in case you missed it here, if you missed our conversation last week with Wade Keith from Breeze Through Car Wash and Beth Martin from Express Wash Concepts, you want to go back and check that out. I've got a quick clip for you, but it's all around marketing and applying marketing concepts to your talent acquisition strategy. And as this industry continues to grow at an exponential pace, labor is not going to get any easier. So check out this quick clip from Wade Keith from last week's show.
We're actually going to map out the employee's journey through our business. As you heard me mention earlier, we brought on a new hiring and onboarding coordinator, Kelsey. And she noted, and everybody that comes in our company starts at the very bottom and then has to go through the initial training and that kind of stuff going up. And she gave us some amazing feedback. And she said, hey, I was told all these things in the group interview and I got in and this was an issue, this was an issue, and this was an issue. And even this was an issue. I mean, she spelled it out for us, all these issues, and she's bringing us feedback and she felt comfortable giving us the feedback, unlike maybe a lot of other employees. And she said, if I wasn't as connected to this business as I have been all this time, I would have possibly quit this company because of the experience right when I got in. Mm-hmm. So we're actually going to take the concept of a customer journey map, which we've talked about in plenty of other episodes, and we're going to create an employee journey map. So we know that this is what's said in the group interview. We spell it out for them that it's hard work. We do all these things. And then when they get in and the initial training goes on, that the exact same thing we said in our interviews is what they're going to experience on the inside, because that will keep employees longer.
Big tip for you right there. Make that employee journey. All right. We talked a lot about journeys. That's a big one. Make that employee journey. Catch that full episode at carwashmagazine.com or YouTube or wherever you want to watch those things. Now, this week, look, back by popular demand is your favorite segment and mine.
How do you make a tissue dance? A boogie.
All right, and now joining me on the program is the man himself, Stu Crum. Stu, welcome to the program.
Matt, thank you. It's great to be here and look forward to speaking the next few minutes.
Look, I'm really excited because I think that your background is fascinating, and I think it's really applicable to what's going on in the industry right now. And we're going to talk a little bit about that, but for those staff where I explained who you were, could you give us just sort of the elevator version of how you got into this industry and what your background looks like?
Yeah, so I've been automotive services for 35 years. Previous jobs before I entered car washing, I was president of Bridgestone's retail business, Firestone Tires Plus stores. I was president of Jiffy Lube, chief operating officer of Service King. And what really got me in the business is about 7 years ago, I joined the board of DRB Systems, the first time they actually sold, and I fell in love with car washing. Soon after that, the founder of DRB, Kim Brott, and I became investors in Sergeant Kling's Car Wash. And then I was recruited by Goldman Sachs 2.5 years ago to join True Blue. So it's been a long time coming. I wish I did a lot earlier, to be honest with you.
Yeah. It's we say this a few times a show, I feel like, but once you get the chemistry in your blood,
Absolutely.
That's funny. Well, okay, so let's talk a little bit about True Blue. Okay, so you're wearing a Rainstorm shirt, which is not True Blue, but it is True Blue. Let's talk about the structure of the thing. Can you just kind of explain that for everybody?
Well, when I took the business over 2.5 years ago, we had 27 locations in 3 states under 3 brands: Clean Freak, Rainstorm, Clean Freak in Arizona, Rainstorm, Illinois, Indiana, and Personal Touch, Massachusetts, Rhode Island, Connecticut. We now have 61 locations, but we've decided to keep those 3 brands. So as we do acquisitions or as we do greenfields in those markets, we brand them under those 3 brands.
Mm-hmm. Now we're gonna talk about that a little bit more later, but I want to switch gears a little bit because let's lay out the landscape for everybody. True Blue, when you first came on board, how many locations were you?
Yeah, 27 locations.
27, and now where are you?
61.
Woo!
Yeah, a lot of growth. And actually, the first year, because we were trying to get the systems and processes right, the business was a little broken, I think, when I took it over. So we didn't actually add a site for my first year. So that growth from 27 to 61 has actually come over the last 18 months.
That's intense, Stu. Like that is no joke. That is, if my math is right, that is 34 locations in 18 months.
Yeah, it's we're tired.
Well, I'm glad. I was going to say, I'm glad you're still on this side of the dirt right now.
Absolutely.
Okay, so to do that requires some things, right? One of which is people, but I think the thing that you and I were talking about previously is that it requires process to be able to do that. So, importance of process and kind of getting you from 27 to 61 in 18 months.
Yeah, Matt, be happy to. So I had mentioned earlier that, listen, 35 years automotive service in some senior leadership roles in that time. But going back about 25 years ago, I was introduced to some lean principles, Kaizen. And I've lived with those principles from an operator for the last 25, 30 years. I believe that if you have systems and processes in place, that it's easier to grow, it's easier to integrate. Now, we were very fortunate that when we purchased, and I wasn't here at the time, but the first acquisition that we ever did was Clean Freak Car Wash, and bought it from a bunch of brothers that actually also lived some of the, I call lean principles. Yeah. 5 F's: sort, set in order, shine, standardize, sustain, for people that know what those are. And we have taken those principles that were from Clean Freak that I was very familiar with because I was doing those for prior 20 years of my life. And we've copied and pasted that to the Rainstorm brand, to the Personal Touch brand. So every time we bring a site online, there's a certain amount of sets of principles and processes that we implement within our first 3 months.
Well, and that's really important, right? Because you can walk in anywhere and put down the manual, so to speak, and get it up and operational in a pretty short time frame.
Absolutely. I mean, it's a copy paste measure. And I learned this from previous life when I was in other companies growing, that if you don't have actual system and process in place, you take a site over, and within 3 or 4 months, you potentially have chaos because you have a district manager that's doing it one way here and another district manager or general manager is doing it a different way over here. And it's hard to grow exponentially if you don't have some real rigor in your business. And so we have a playbook now. We have a process that we've developed. And so when we go into a market, the first 2 weeks, we keep it business as usual. By 3 weeks, we start implementing that playbook to the T.
Now, talk to me a little bit about the challenges of in an acquisition space. Right? Greenfield, no big deal, right? You've got the manual, you're starting fresh. Here you go. This is how we do it. When you go into an acquisition, how do you get people to buy into that process? Because look, I like process. I like the process a lot more when it's my process, right? So how do you get folks bought in?
Well, I'm not sure if you heard my first comment, but we don't do it the first 2 weeks. The first 2 weeks, we just all we talk about is culture, and we try to convince the team, because typically we're buying from an owner operator, right? So we're buying by somebody that's been a family business, and they joined because of this family business. And now you got big corporate owned by Goldman Sachs that's coming around and taking over this business. So our first couple of weeks, we actually don't change a whole lot. We don't change the signs. We don't change our processes. But we slowly but surely explain why it's important, and we, I use a terminology every day with my team. It's called crawl, walk, run. Early on, we crawl, and we get people to buy into, first of all, our culture, and we can talk about culture later.
Yeah.
And what's important in our culture. Second thing we talk about is process and systems. And at that point, we're no longer crawling. We're walking, and then. By our second month, we're actually beginning to run, and so it is a slow but very thoughtful process that we go through. Crawl, walk, run, and be a teammate with you on this journey that you won't be successful. We've recently done 11 acquisitions in the last 8 weeks, and I'm thrilled to tell you that actually we really haven't had a blip in it, and because that playbook is beginning to work for us, and we are being thoughtful about the teammates. We realized that they were with 4 partners that had been their family for 9 years, and so for us to come in and think that we can change overnight, we would not be successful doing that.
Yeah, I think the key in what you're talking about here is that we're dealing with people at the end of the day, right? So you have to keep that in mind, because as good as process is, if you just go in and try to slam it and railroad it through, nobody's going to do it, and then you're in that chaos. Yeah. I
mean, the one thing that I realized when I inherited this business, I inherited from a serial entrepreneur, and he was really good at acquisitions, but I don't think really understood the people side of this business. I tell people every day, this business would be easy if it wasn't for people. But and it's on two sides. We've got to have satisfied customers every day, but you got to have satisfied teammates every day, right? So it's about the teammate first. And once you get the teammate right, the other stuff comes easy. But if you don't have the teammate right from day one, it's hard the rest of the way. So I'm not going to have a satisfied customer unless I have a really happy teammate. And so we focus on the teammate. We have what's called a career plan. Yeah. So every teammate that joins goes through our career plan. We can tell them that from 1 to 9 months, all their training, everything they go through, and it makes the process a lot easier for us.
You're speaking my language, Stu. That is I swear to, I feel like we talk about this all the time, but like having the plan, treating the people right, like with your organization, huge.
Absolutely.
I want to switch a little bit. Before I go there, I do want you to share one example of this process that I really like, because if I open my drawers over here, I've got everything in foam and cut out and where it's supposed to go. You take that process piece and that playbook, and that goes everywhere, literally everywhere, into the back room. Tell folks what you guys do in the back rooms.
Well, and once again, fortunately, Clean Freak was doing this. We're doing it everywhere. But when you go into our back room, every piece of equipment is labeled. 100% are labeled. So there's a teammate's been there for a day, knows exactly what the RO unit is because it says RO unit on it, right? The second thing is we use a lot of tools. Everybody uses a lot of tools. Well, we put foam in our toolboxes so that when you take that screwdriver out, there's a hole. And if I come in and I see a hole, my first question I ask is, where's that screwdriver and a wrench? And so we have a large toolbox of about 10 drawers, and every drawer from 1 to 10 is foam. And that foam is a cutout of where the equipment goes, or the pieces of tools go, excuse me. We do for 2 reasons. Number one, so that you exactly know where to go to find that tool when you need it, so you're not looking around. Process.
Yeah.
The second thing is you know exactly where it goes, so when the next teammate comes. I was actually last week walking in a shop, and the first thing I do when I go in the back room is I'm always looking at that toolbox. I want to see it. constantly and crossing our T's. And I saw pieces of tools that were missing. And I went to our regional director and said, "We're there." He says, "Well, Stu, actually, he's got them right over here using them."
Yeah.
Because they were missing from the drawer. So, bottom line is, I won't say we're perfect.
Yeah.
But it's one way to help perfection at your sites, because there's a lot of moving parts every day. And if we can dummy it down for our teammates, actually dummy it down for me, because I'm not the smartest guy in the world. We dummy it down for me. We try to make it easy for our teammates.
Well, the real question here is, do you still lose the 10 mil? Like,
So right.
I mean, come on.
Always. Yeah. But
But you got 12 of them in the back. Yeah.
Right. On the 5S, that is the set in order, right?
Yeah.
So that's number 2 of the 5s, is setting an order. And then all the other things are easy after you set everything in order.
Yeah. I love that. Well, the other thing is that we don't realize how moments in the day can add up for us, right? If you spend 60 seconds here looking for a tool, 90 seconds walking over here, another minute and a half over there, that all adds up to a significant chunk of the day. So I love that. I love that approach. The other thing that process really helps you do is stay pretty darn lean, right?
Right.
And I know you're big on this. Can you talk about the importance for you, especially as you're scaling, of that kind of lean approach and why you do it that way?
Yeah. So, I mean, anybody is lean. Lean is actually LEAN, isn't just I'm lean.
Yeah.
It's actually a Kaizen principle of being lean. And we use different things. Once again, so it's using 5S in our shop to actually also being lean in the way we run our business. So we try not to, as an operation, add more people until we absolutely are painful and it hurts. Why? Because we want everybody in the organization to be a subject matter expert at what they do. And so we don't want to add a bunch of people to do that. So everything we do, we try to lean out and put a system and a process. And that's all the way back, by the way, in our front office and our back office. And the lean principles that we have implemented through the company at the site and at corporate allows everybody in the organization, if you will, to have some principle and processes to live by and understand by. So it's critical to our growth success. I don't think we could have grown the 34 sites over the last 18 months unless we had these principles early on in place. So important.
Yeah, super important. Hey, if you guys are just tuning into the program here and catching us kind of midstream, if you will, we've got Stu Crum, CEO of True Blue Car Wash here, talking to us about how they're using process to really accelerate their growth. And we're about to move into some conversation around brand here a little bit. So here we go. Stu, are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right. So True Blue is Goldman Sachs is the top, True Blue's under here, and then we've got 3 brands.
Right.
What's that? Why that approach? Why are we doing it that way, and not just one big car wash brand?
Right. Well, I mean, if when I inherited the business, so if I go back, I inherited the business with 27 locations in 6 states, and I think ideally, I'd like to inherit a business that's got 27 locations in 1 or 2 states, but we had 6 states, and we have a Northeastern brand which is called Personal Touch. We had a Midwest brand which is called Rainstorm, and we had a Arizona brand, which was Clean Freak. Now, as we started growing and doing acquisitions, I had 1 of 2 strategies I could do. I could either do an acquisition, take a 4th brand, take a 5th brand, take a 6th brand, or actually 3 strategies. I could go to 1 brand, or I could keep the 3. The way I look at it is our subscription model is extremely important to our business. But I haven't found that a customer in Rhode Island drives to Chicago and is looking for the same car wash. When I was president of Jiffy Lube, they were looking for that same place. When I was president of Bridgestone, they bought that Firestone tire in Rhode Island. They needed to have it maybe replaced in Chicago, and that was important. But I haven't found that brand at a national level matters as much as it really does matter at a local level. And the reason it matters at a local level is because of our subscription model. So in the Illinois, Indiana market, we now have 32 locations. So a customer can come into a Rainstorm wherever they drive and use that RFID tag, their Fast Pass, to get a free car wash, right? If not a free car wash, if they're on a subscription plan, they paid for that car wash, obviously. But that's why it's become very important to us. So the latest acquisitions we've done, I guess 12 of the 16 acquisitions we've done in the last 16 weeks have been in the Illinois, Indiana area.
Okay.
All those were converted to Rainstorm for that reason. I don't have any plans to add any more brands, but if we did a huge acquisition, for instance, in the Southeast someday, maybe we might go with a fourth brand. I don't know, but I like the 3 brands we have, and we're able to. It's not too much complexity for marketing and all those other things you do as you're supporting your growth.
Yeah, and then the other thing that from a purely tactical perspective is, look, it costs a lot of money to convert everything into one piece, right?
I actually didn't say that, but it does. It does. It's about, actually, when we do an acquisition, we budget about $30,000 per site for signage and change of other things. Not even count a point of sale. Point of sale is, 100,000 plus.
Yeah.
But just in signage alone, it's about 30,000. So 30,000 times 60 locations gets to be, my shareholder thinks I could possibly spend that money maybe a better, different place.
What do you mean? Like, what's more important than, new signs and logos and
absolutely.
So a fresh coat of paint? Brands, I think that's important for people to understand, because there are a lot of car wash platforms kind of out there right now doing one of each of the approaches you just threw out there. So
they are.
That's sort of the why for everybody watching. Let's move into what makes True Blue special, and kind of what keeps you there and what makes you excited about what you do every day. What makes it special?
Well, the first thing we talked about today was people.
Yeah.
Right. That's the first thing we talked about. And when I wake up every day, and I've said this, it is more than a job. I think when you become the CEO, it becomes part of your life. It becomes, how do I make a difference in people's lives? We've grown. I think when I joined, we had 200 employees. We're up to 550 employees, and we call them teammates. 550 teammates. What makes us unique? There are some really good regional players, and even national players in the United States and North America. So I don't think we are 100% unique to anybody else. But I'd like to think that one of the things that makes us a little unique, besides the fact we really care about people, is culture, right? And when I think of great cultures, and I tell my team this every day, when I think about buying a chicken sandwich, do I go to Kentucky Fried Chicken or do I go Chick-fil-A? And everybody goes Chick-fil-A, not because the chicken sandwich is better. They go there because they get a consistent offering every day. It's there's something different about those two brands, right? Well, I'd like to be the Chick-fil-A, if you will, of car washing. When I say Chick-fil-A, listen, they're bigger. They've been at it a lot longer. They have a different model than we do, but it all evolves ultimately back to culture. And we have 5 core values. Service is our first. Service to our teammates and service to our customers, right? We want to be a people that serve. Second is just integrity. Do what you say and say what you do. Be a person of integrity. Don't lie. Be honest, be truthful. And if you can't work for us and be that way, then work for someone else, because we want people with integrity, right? Recognition. Recognize your efforts, anywhere from thank yous to big recognitions, but recognition, respecting people's differences. We think diversity and respect's great. And the last is just teamwork. We want to be a team. So those are our 5 core values. Now, once again, I look on a lot of car wash websites. They've got core values. What makes them different than us? I'd like to think that we hire by those core values. We fire by those core values. We will definitely fire if somebody doesn't live those core values. And we'd like to think that as we continue to grow, that we're creating an organization that lives by those culture, that practices those cultures, and making something unique in the industry. But once again, I don't think we've created a different type of sliced bread here. I just think we're more consistent on a daily basis. Yeah,
that's the thing, right? Like with values and mission statements and all of these kinds of things, they're only as good as how frequently you talk about them and how frequently you actually adhere to them, right? I mean, you got to do the things.
If you don't hire, one thing that we're working on right now is hiring to these things.
Yes.
And how do you hire to somebody that's got integrity or service? Well, there's ways as you're asking questions in that interviewing process, you're asking about those things in a way they don't even know you're asking about them.
Right.
And I don't think we're great at that yet, but I think we're getting better. I think we're great in certain parts of our organization. As we, once again, every time we do a new acquisition, and we've grown a lot over 18 months, it's baby steps, because you're having to teach the whole new group that's coming on what these things are important to our company, and we want to be important to them as well.
Well, and I love the way that you slow roll that in the acquisition piece with the leaving things as is for a couple weeks. Like that's huge because that contributes to this culture piece, right? Like you give them
Right.
time. It's like, I mean, people are going to be a little shocked at first. So I want to come back to something you said that I thought was really interesting, and I think ties back to some of your history as well. You said at True Blue, you guys use the term teammates.
Right.
You played a few sports. Can you share that story?
Well, I mean, in 1983, I was drafted by the New York Jets as a place kicker. So anybody knows me, I'm 5'7", 175 pounds, so I'm not exactly the biggest guy in the world, but I was a place kicker. And I was obviously a good college place kicker as well. And I was average. I always tell people I was an average professional place kicker. So my goal when I graduated, I went to the University of Tulsa. I was drafted by the Jets, and I played on 4 teams in 3 years. I tell people that I thought I was going to play professional football for 10, 15 years, buy a couple car dealerships and be, dumb, fat, and happy.
Yeah,
well,
yeah.
I am dumb, fat, and happy, but my plan hasn't worked out exactly the way I had a plan. But back to teamwork, I learned very early in my life that if I don't have a great snapper, a great holder, and another 9 people that are holding out these big hog mollies trying to get me, that field goal would never have gotten to the upright, right?
Yeah.
So I learned very early on that as the place kicker that I was one of them. If it didn't happen, my kick never mattered.
Yeah.
Teamwork's always been really important to me. And so the teammate, we called them an employee. When I joined the company, they were called the employee. The first thing I do is I changed that term to a teammate.
Yeah.
And I did that because we are a team. I actually, every week I write a note to our team. It's either on a Friday, Saturday, or Sunday, and it's a weekly note I wrote. This week I wrote on heroes.
Ah, okay.
And how they're heroes. And one of the things I wrote about was we're converting a bunch of our sites point of sale this week. And I've got guys that are working 18 hours a day, right? When you do that, it's day in, day out, and they're our heroes, and we recognize them as our heroes and teammates that are doing the job for us.
That's so important, and it's proof positive that words matter, right? The choice of words really does make a difference for some people. For some people. Okay, so I want to be time left. I want to talk a little bit about kind of future state and kind of where this industry is going, because I think that it's kind of fun to watch, and it's really exciting to be kind of in the middle of all this stuff that's going on. You've got a really fascinating background, though, because you've kind of not been here before, but in similar industry approaches. Can you kind of just maybe let's go high level? Where do you think we're headed? Like, what do you think is going to happen here?
Well, there's no doubt in the last 3, 5, but definitely a lot of private equity money has entered this space. A lot of groups are beginning to roll up. We've seen Mr. just go to a publicly traded company. ICWG is also a publicly traded company under Driven Brands. So you got groups like mine, and I'm not unique. We've gone from 27 to 61 locations last 18 months. There's a number of peers of mine that have done similar things. Mm-hmm. I think you're going to see. I think you're going to see a couple of things happen. I equate this to industries that you either support me or I used to be in. So I think about auto parts industry. Mm-hmm. 20 years ago, every corner had a different auto parts company. Billy Bob's Auto Parts, Advance Auto Parts, Joe's Auto Parts. Yeah. You've really got 5 today. Advance AutoZone, Napa, O'Reilly's, and Pep Boys, right? It's consolidated, and they have between 600 to 5,000 locations. I actually see car washing to a degree getting there where I think you're going to have 5 or 6 really big players 5 or 10 years from now. They're going to have a 500 to 1,000 locations. The barriers to entry aren't difficult in this space, so we'll always have individual players because you can actually build a car wash tomorrow and get into the space. But I do think you're going to see continued consolidation. I think some folks like me will keep on buying even folks that look like us to get to 250 locations, right? Or be purchased by somebody that looks like us.
Right.
But I do see continued consolidation. It's a profitable business. It's a very good business. As I said very early on, I wish I did this 10 years ago. I wish I knew today today. I wish I knew 10 years ago what I know today. But I see consolidation continue to happen, but in place for that small player in this market, in particular, the full service car wash, I think will always be on the small players. The express model, which is the model that we have focused on, will continue to focus on, will be bigger, less players years from now.
That's a really interesting distinction. I mean, I'm with you. I think obviously things are consolidating, and when you think about as all of these groups start to get larger and you start to change the multiple of locations for what a multi-site operator is, as people buy up, I mean, you can't help it. Like, you're going to grow exponentially with those bigger groups, but you do always wonder, like, well, what about the smaller family businesses and the local? This is a hyper local business, really, and I think that I really like that angle of, like, thinking that there may be a really hard niche down into the full service side for some of the smaller organizations over time. That's interesting. I'd like to see how that plays out for sure.
Well, I think it's going to play. I mean, full service locations, but a year from now I'll have 0.
Yeah.
And it's not that we don't like full service. We just don't think either we'll convert to express or we won't be in it, right? Because I think, but at the full service level, even me, obviously I get my car washes at our locations.
Yeah.
But about once a quarter, I like the dash cleaned. I like the wheels really cleaned. And I go to a full service location. It's not mine.
Yeah.
And why do I do that? Because I want a detailed service. I think there's always going to be a need and a niche for that full serve. I don't think it's going to be from the consolidators. I think it's going to be those family owned smaller businesses. I think they're going to make really good money doing it.
Yeah.
And I think there's a place in that long term. It just won't be, once again, for businesses like mine or like the other consolidators in the industry.
Well, and it goes back to process, really, right? Like, you can't build 7 different versions of the process if you really want to scale something.
You really can't, right? Absolutely. And even full service is more complex than express, right? One thing I love about the express model, it's not a complex business. If you take all the things that you're doing, put into a process, I can copy and paste and teach our teammates.
Yeah.
Within a couple of weeks, I can get somebody up to speed. Where in the full service business, I think there's a little more complexity to it as well.
Yeah, there's some nuance there for sure, and stuff that just takes time to get a grasp on. Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure.
We are butting up against time. I could talk for a very long time with you, Stu. I've had a really nice conversation with you. Thanks so much for joining the program.
Been my pleasure, and it's fun to be part of this industry and to see it really grow. I think my plans are staying for quite some time because I think there's a lot of fun, a lot of opportunities ahead of us.
Well, we'll have to can actually gather in person again.
Yeah, so I'll see you in
November. Yeah, November.
Absolutely.
It's coming.
Looking forward to that.
All right. Awesome. Thanks, Stu.
Thank you. Cheers. Take care.
Hey, if you guys are watching at home and you want to see more programs like this, more stories, more great ideas, more inspiration, or more just, riffing on what the industry is going to look like, you can do that at carwashmagazine.com. And guess what, friends? When you're out there this week and you're just killing it washing cars, there's just one thing you've got to do, and that is keep it clean.